Welcome. You're listening to Ask the Doulas, a podcast where we talk to experts from all over the country about topics related to pregnancy, birth, postpartum, and early parenting. Let's chat.
Hello. This is Kristin Revere with Ask the Doulas, and I am thrilled to chat with Ciara Lyons today. She is so accomplished, as you'll learn. She is MSN, RN, PHN, registered nurse, speaker, and founder of Her Black Wellness with 14 plus years clinical experience, including almost 5 years in labor and delivery. Ciara works on the maternal health crisis from both sides, training healthcare providers to deliver equitable care and supporting Black and Brown women through her community program, The Matriarch's Table. What makes Ciara even more different is that she has also lived experience, her own journey through IVF, ectopic pregnancy, miscarriage, and severe postpartum depression means she doesn't just bring the credentials, she brings receipts. And today, our topic is the postpartum experience. Welcome, Ciara.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you and the work you're doing. It's funny that we happen to be recording this during World Doula Week, where the maternal health crisis is brought up even more frequently on social media. But I love labor and delivery nurses so much as a birth doula and childbirth educator. So the work that you're doing within the system, and as I mentioned earlier, with the community is so important.
Thank you. I agree. Like you mentioned, I have experienced it from the patient side and then just experiencing from the provider side. My eyes are wide open and I'm just trying to help others open their eyes as well to what's going on.
Exactly. It's so needed. And having personal experience, you understand in a different way that I'm sure in your community, in your speaking engagements, in your writing, that comes out. I have personal stories that have shaped me and made me passionate about supporting women's health in particular, with preeclampsia, NICU baby, advanced maternal age. So I feel like our lived experience brings and passion into of all of the ways you could focus your nursing talent. The fact that you're working in maternal health is so important.
Yeah. I think one of the things that has kind of just led me here, I was labor and delivery nurse before I had my own child. And I feel like we could do better when we're providing care to these mothers and to their families. And I would think that at the bedside, right? But at that time, I didn't fully know exactly how I should show up. I just knew that I wanted to. And so then fast forward to me having my own child. And after I kind of climbed out of my postpartum depression and anxiety, I first was a mama coach, and then I transitioned to Her Black Wellness because I was like, we need so much more than pregnancy. We need the whole spectrum of what's going on with us in our reproductive lives.
Exactly, because it certainly doesn't. So I feel like that postnatal time is not talked about in the way that pregnancy preparation is. And as a nurse, you have seen your patients in that vulnerable time after delivery and with the first feeding and newborn exams, and if a NICU stay is needed and all of those emotions. And so I love that we're going to talk a bit more and do some education on the postpartum experience and what to expect and how to better prepare and advocate for yourself after delivery. So what are some tips that you have for our listeners as far as preparation for the postnatal phase? And what are you sharing in Her Black Wellness?
I would say my first piece of advice would be to plan for your postpartum like you plan for your pregnancy and you plan to deliver. I think we're so excited once we get pregnant, and then going through the pregnancy, and we're all focused on baby coming and what that's going to be like and getting everything cute. But I don't think we or that society puts emphasis on what happens once baby is here and mom is trying to recover. So I would say that focusing on what is going to happen once you come home, or if you do have to spend time in the NICU or any other health conditions arise, what will your support system look like? So I would say that's my first piece of advice. And within her Black Wellness and the Matriarchs table, we discuss and help with how to best advocate for yourself, and then making a plan when it comes to your postpartum.
Exactly. And there are so many situations as postpartum doulas. My team is in homes for the first year and things come up, and there may be health issues for our client that they were not aware of that could happen, like a retained placenta, for example. They're getting a fever. There may be reasons for readmission, and certainly the mental health aspects of things that are being discussed more than when I had kids, certainly, but still there's not enough awareness about resources. And Postpartum Support National is one of my favorites for clients who live in rural areas and don't have in-person or local virtual support groups to turn to.
Right. They are amazing. And for those folks who do live in rural areas, a suggestion I have, if you're involved with any of your neighbors or local groups, to see how best you guys could build relationships to when we're going to have kids, the other people rally around. I think that's something that we're missing a lot within our society now. It's very individualistic instead of a collective, a village. And there for many reasons, right? We're all spread out. We work a lot. There's so many reasons that this is the case, but I also think that that's kind of what's doing us a disservice, is because we no longer have that group where there are multiple people who are helping, multiple people with eyes on that family, that mom who's trying to recover that baby. So yeah, I would suggest trying to build a community or a village around you and your family to help during these times.
I agree. And even if we do live near family, oftentimes we're in that season for my clients who are older where they're caring for their parents as well. Their parents may not be able to help as much, and siblings may not live nearby. But I did some trainings early in my doula career with Malaysian healing traditions, and I did a Zulu birth doula training, and it dealt with a lot of that postpartum recovery and food as part of the healing process, and having others help care for baby and baby wearing, of course. And some of the rituals around postnatal recovery with belly binding. And there's so much that we are lacking, but a lot of it is that support and people not only helping to care for baby or babies, but the mother.
Right. We forget about mama. I think sometimes as moms, we forget about ourselves as well, right? We have our babies and then immediately we kind of just go into this okay, now I'm trying to keep this child alive, right? In a lot of ways, we kind of maybe compartmentalize. So we, in a sense, forget ourselves. And so having someone like a doula, postpartum doula, or, family members, friends, whoever come in to kind of remind us that we also need to rest, that we don't need to do everything and hold everything together is really beneficial. And that's why I'm very much get you a doula, or make sure you have someone who is there to help support you. I was fortunate to have my mom, and she has 4 sisters that I'm really close to. So my aunt kind of alternate when I had my daughter, and my mom would be sit down. Why are you doing things? I will help you. You don't have to do this, or go to sleep, or, stuff like that. And I didn't even realize that I was doing it because I was just in it. You know what I mean? So it would be really beneficial for others, I think.
Absolutely. As doulas, we are constantly moving through a home during a postpartum shift. We are helping with baby care, supporting feeding, grabbing supplies, settling babies, and making sure moms have what they need. There's a lot of up and down in those early weeks, and I always notice how much the little things matter, especially when it comes to comfort at home. This May, Cozy Earth really leans into the idea that home is where you live your life, especially in postpartum. And having simple, supportive pieces can make a bigger difference than you would expect. That is why their clogs stand out to me. They're the kind of shoe you keep right by the bed and slip on without thinking. Whether it is getting up in the middle of the night with your baby, walking the halls to soothe them, or just moving through your day. Cozy Earth clogs make things easier. They have a cushioned footbed, a soft interior, and enough support to keep up with how much time you're on your feet in postpartum. Even though these were not around when I had my own babies, I see now how helpful something like this would have been. And these clogs are exactly the kind of practical comfort I recommend to my clients. Because postpartum is not about doing more, it's about simplifying what you can. Cozy Earth backs everything with a 100-night trial and a 10-year warranty. Head to cozyearth.com and use my code GOLDCOAST for 20% off. And if you see the survey after purchase, let them know you heard about it here on the Ask the Doulas podcast. Comfort lives here. And having worked in the hospital system for so long, what are your tips for, say, our listeners who are first-time parents who haven't cared for a baby, haven't gone through the postnatal recovery phase? What are some signs they should look out for? How can they advocate for themselves when they're in the postpartum room? Yeah. And what are we missing when we're sharing information about that journey?
I would say right after you're having your child, especially if you're in the hospital, I would say that figuring out how to feed your baby tends to be a very high stressor after delivery. And that's what I experienced for myself, and that's what I have experienced as a nurse. And one thing I do think helps is if folks will meet with a lactation specialist, consultant before having baby, or having more awareness about feeding before they go in to deliver. Because I think that just kind of quells the anxiety around it. If we as providers could also kind of remind them that it's okay and really get in and help them learn and let them know that it takes time, but it's going to be fine. So I would say that's like my main thing. That's what I notice. The feeding aspect is top of the list.
I agree. And I'm a big fan of, as you said, that education during pregnancy when you're able to absorb more and you're not focused on healing and trying to learn. So taking a breastfeeding class or a back to work pumping class and having your partner or anyone who's involved in your care attend. I know having my daughter, my first in the NICU, and really wanting to breastfeed and having taken a breastfeeding class, it helped that class gave me some pumping knowledge and allowed my husband to support me as well by remembering some different holds and latches when I was finally able to breastfeed my daughter.
Yeah, I could just, as you said, usually while we're still pregnant, but as soon as you have our babies, that we're just kind of like, we're just in it again. Like we can't really see the big picture. And yeah, having your partner or anyone who's going to support you, especially in that initial period, also learn is so beneficial. I think the main thing is that we need education, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I feel like now people are going to YouTube and social media and moms groups, but nothing replaces an expert like yourself having a nurse lead a childbirth class or a childbirth educator that has that background versus hearing like tips from influencers and sometimes that information that I see in mom groups is not correct. And especially when it comes to feeding your baby and dealing with weight gain, go to a pediatrician, a lactation consultant, go to the expert. And some of that anecdotal, like these tips, the nursery, then certainly go to those mom group communities, but nothing beats education.
Yeah, I agree. And I think and the proper education also will help so much with the anxiety that comes with this new stage. I think, like you said, we see on social media and these groups. And as a society, as women, I feel like we are like, we want to be perfect and we want to show up as that with each other and in the world. And sometimes I believe that gets in the way with the real truth about what feeding, what being pregnant, what postpartum, what raising kids looks like. Education and getting it from a qualified individual. And I don't mean that in like, oh, they have to have this, but someone who really has your best interests at heart.
Exactly. And family and friends can be well-meaning, but having an expert outside who's not attached to you and is able to come in without any judgment is also helpful.
Yeah, I agree. I had my own experience with that with my mom. She tried breastfeeding me and my siblings, but it didn't last long when she did it. But when I decided to breastfeed, I had issues with the latch, but eventually went to exclusive pumping. And she would be like, I have to do that. And I know she just meant well, right? Like she didn't want me to be stressed out about it. But then I was just like, but no, I want you to support me and helping me find the answers of why this is happening. They're just trying to help you and trying to figure out, like trying to say the thing that they feel like will help, even though it may not be what you want.
Yeah, different goals, just trying to solve the problem and ease some stress. But yeah, I'm glad that you persevered. And pumping it takes a lot of effort and focus. And so good for you. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yes. And I was glad when it was done. At the same time.
I bet. Yeah. Yeah, I pumped for quite some time with my daughter and exclusively breastfeeding my son. It's like that was so much more dedication to exclusively pump than it was to breastfeed directly.
Yeah. It's a beautiful journey, but it's also a hard journey. And that's okay.
Yeah. And everyone has different goals, has different medical needs. And so, yeah, and every birth and baby are so different. So I would love to learn more about her Black wellness, the community that you created there.
Yeah. So again, it kind of just came from my own experience and what I had seen in the hospital setting as well, of just us needing more education, someone being attentive to us, and then needing immunity where we didn't feel judged or like we had to be a certain way to be seen or heard. I did have traumatic experience with my ectopic pregnancy before I had my daughter. And pretty much I ended up having to have emergency surgery for it. And that experience really just opened my eyes even more to how patients are dismissed, especially Black and Brown folks, when they present to the hospital with complaints. And once I came out of that, once I went through IVF, eventually had my daughter, I was just like, people need someone to stand in the gap for them. They need someone who will show up, who has knowledge and who can say like, hey, this is not right. And also potentially give action step of how to move forward from that situation. And that's how her Black wellness came to be. Because I was like, I could do that. I mean, I kind of already been doing that for all these years. I've been a nurse for my patients, advocating for them with their doctors, with their families. And then I also, on the other hand, love when I'm able to talk with other moms about becoming a mother and then motherhood and even just our health on an individual level, because there are so many things that we don't know about our bodies. And that's by design, in my opinion. And so many things that we probably could be getting help for that we just don't even know because you don't know what you don't know, right? Her Black Wellness came to be because of that, because I wanted to put out information about what's going on in healthcare from a medical professional perspective, but also a Black woman's perspective and from a mother's perspective, and to help guide the community. Like you mentioned, I focus on Black and Brown, but for everyone, if the information applies to you, please come and join. I just want us to be able to thrive at the end of the day. That is really what her Black Wellness is about.
Now, how do our listeners learn more and join the program?
We don't have like a full program going in that way, like a coaching program, but I'm planning to have an event. I've had 2 people tell me to have an event recently where we kind of just have a round table where people can come together, women, and share our stories and just kind of heal and look to the future. Like, let's talk about how we want to change the landscape. Let's talk about our health, how we want to move forward. So that's my plan moving forward. But I'm on Instagram and I am on Threads. I love Threads. And I'm on Substack, and that's where I like chat about different stuff. You can reach out to me in those places, and we can talk about workshops and things like that, where I just come and speak with your community or the people that you know and love, and organizations who want to change and who need change.
And then you've got the Matriarchs Table in addition to her Black Wellness. Tell us a bit about that.
The Matriarchs Table is focused on Black and Brown women and maternal health advocacy. Again, that's when I talk about like the storytelling and how we can best come together as a community to help each other. And so it's really just about building village, building community in the sense of trying to change the face of motherhood. I feel like we've been talking about it forever, what motherhood feels like. And I feel that we need to start putting action in motion. So that's pretty much what the Matriarchs Table is about.
Excellent. Any final tips for our listeners in relation to the postpartum experience?
Yes. Just know that there's no perfect way to do anything, but especially postpartum. From my own experience as well, I feel like we all have this idea in our mind about what it's supposed to look like. And what it's supposed to look like is what it looks like for you. So if that means that you couldn't do certain things or whatever it is, it's perfect for you as long as you're okay and you're thriving and your family's okay and thriving. So I would say don't be preoccupied by what others are doing or what others' experiences were. Just worry on making your experience the best it can be within your situation. That would be my advice.
Excellent advice. And one last reminder of how our listeners can connect with you, Ciara.
Yes. Again, I'm on Instagram at Her Black Wellness, on Threads at Her Black Wellness as well. I'm also on LinkedIn under Ciara Lyons Reagans. And my Substack is called They Weren't Listening. And on there is where I talk about healthcare and I talk about motherhood as a nurse and as a patient. Find me there. DM me. I love to chat.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. And we'll have to have you on again, but I will check out your Substack and be sure to subscribe.
Thank you. Thank you all for listening.
Thanks for listening to Ask the Doulas. For more information about Gold Coast Doulas, visit us on our website, goldcoastdoulas.com. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. If you like this podcast, please subscribe and give us a 5-star review. Thank you. Remember, these moments are golden.